sorry, I'm an interior designer, but for many, many years, I was a visual merchandiser. And I learned a lot on how to sell, how to make things look very pretty, how to just, just make people want to buy something. So when I went to school for interior design, I never thought I would use that part of my my career with design. But I had a really good friend that was a stager, that was a realtor and needed a stager. And she had just a troubled property that she just could not get to sell no matter what she did. And so she's like, why don't you give it a shot? And so I did. And here I am almost 10 years later. I actually stage more than I do design now. So, yeah.
What part of the South are you from?
Yeah, where in the South are you from, Anne-Marie?
I am from Georgia.
Okay.
Outside of Atlanta. No, northwest.
I should have recognized that.
Yeah, that's why part of why she's so effective, because she goes in and uses that Southern accent on people.
I was going to say that.
Yeah.
She said. Whenever I come in and tell you guys what to do, it doesn't sound so bad with a nice accent. I sound very nice.
Right. Yeah, so we'll have you tell us to do something. We'll have Ellen tell us to do something. We'll see which one wins.
Too funny. Okay, so we're going to kind of go over some of the basics of staging, and then I have actual photos and stuff that I was going to share too. And then if you guys have questions, if you just want to, either raise your hand in the Zoom if you know how to do that, or just speak up and let us know. I'm probably on, just planning on maybe 30 minutes here. So, Anne-Marie, one of my questions was, what does staging do exactly? And why is it so important when you're selling a house?
Well, staging really, it just puts the entire presentation together. And photographs are the number one marketing tool that realtors use in order to get someone into a home that they are trying to sell. And the first impression is what you see when you look at that property in the photographs. I think that more houses sell when someone's, sitting in their home, looking at the new MLS that just came out, and those photographs, while staging definitely helps when you get into the house, staging helps to capture those clients that are interested in purchasing your home. So it really does help them to get into the door. I can take a home that you've lived in for, years, and you might not see imperfections or just something that someone viewing your house might not be able to see past. It could just be that there's too much stuff in the house, too many items. And it could be too that the furniture is just not laid out properly. So what I really try to do is to create an emotional tie between the person that is looking for the house and just making a good presentation. And then of course, once they get into the house, there's a lot of emotional things that take place, such as just being able to sorry, I saw the photo come up there. I wasn't expecting that. Just being able to walk through with a clear path. In interior design, it's just such an important emotional aspect of having proper clearances. And if you've lived in an area where maybe there was a tight squeeze, between a table or a sofa or whatever, it just is really difficult to, it's just not it's a negative feeling that a potential buyer would feel. So I just try to avoid any of those pitfalls. I know how the camera is going to. Is this a
good example or a bad example?
Oh. We'll get to that in just a minute.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that.
I was wondering.
I'm gonna mute myself.
I really cannot hear.
Okay.
Oh.
So what I hear you saying is I mean, I kind of liken it to, you know, if you were going to go on a dating site, you would want the best, absolute best picture of yourself, the best side of yourself with your hair done and your makeup done
Yep.
to get the best prospects, really. And it's the same with the house. So it's definitely different than when you live in the house. It's not the same.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And
That is a fantastic way to describe it, Jenny.
yeah. And then also, I heard you talk about spacing too, because then when they actually get in the house, it's also about how do they feel in the house in the relation to the stuff and the, you know, the space in general.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is there kind of like a rule of thumb when it comes to spacing, or what do you use there?
Yes, absolutely. So in a major traffic area with interior design, 3 feet is a minimum spacing that you're going to want in a major traffic area. And so 3 feet, if you think about it, it's really not that big. And I actually like a little bit bigger. I like a little bit, you know, larger than that. But yeah, I mean, it really, if you feel crowded, then it creates a negative feeling for someone that's touring your home, and you might be used to it, but I can come in there and right away I can tell that the sofa's not quite right, the dining room table is not quite right. Those are all things that, you know, between my formal education and just being able to feel really, it also involves feng shui, which I know a lot of people have probably heard that terminology, but it really involves that as well.
So can you see this picture, Anne Marie? This is a before photo.
I can see that. Yep.
And
that looks very familiar.
Do you want to talk a little bit about this photo? You probably don't remember exactly what you told these people, but I'll show the after photo here. I mean, obviously get rid of the cat. Just kidding.
I don't know. I'm kind of partial to cats. But so in this space right here, it's just not showing exactly how the space.
This is how you would live.
It's just not. If I was a potential buyer and I looked at this space, first of all, there's just too much going on. In the media center, there's a lot of books, a lot of distractions. You have a buffet. A little sofa table buffet with a little piece of art that's next to the sofa. That doesn't make sense. You've got a very small piece of art that's just the wrong scale over the sofa, and it's too high up. The lamp is just kind of floating behind the sofa, and the chair with the cat in it, it's just kind of out in the middle of nowhere. So it's really hard to understand what the entire space, it's hard to gauge how big that space is or what the function is. Clearly you can tell it's a living space, but it's just very distracting. Oh, look at that.
Okay, so here's the after. Now they didn't do, you know, absolutely everything you recommended, but you can see that older chair and table is gone. They cleaned up the TV area. They added a nice centerpiece to the table.
Yep.
Art over the couch, etc. Anything you want to say about this photo versus the before?
It's, you know, it's so much calmer. So the other thing to remember when with staging and with viewing a house is when I'm a potential buyer and I'm looking at a home, it's very distracting when I see so many items from the homeowner that's currently there. I don't know what the floor looks like. I don't know what the walls look like. I'm so distracted by everything that I really don't know what the space is that I would be purchasing. And if I saw that, I'm more likely to just kind of go through this house quickly or just completely click off of it. And that's not what we want to do. We want them to be like, you know, this is a potential home that I could see my family in. And this picture better represents that than the first picture did. So just a lot calmer to the mind.
Yep. So here's the other side of that where that chair was. So I guess we did leave the table and put a plant there. They still left the lamp there, but they, you know, turned it on for showings, etc.
Right. And you have a fantastic photographer that really captured that room in its best, in a very flattering way. So between staging and good photography, I think that really was, that really made that room pop a lot better.
And, you know, this is still their same furniture. It's just, I brought in some artwork and then we moved a lot of stuff around, put a lot of stuff in the garage, etc. So let's do another before photo here. Do you want to talk about like maybe the 3 things that every seller absolutely should do when they're thinking about selling their house?
Absolutely. Well, honestly, it's a really simple thing that they should do, and it's just one. It's hire a stager. And second, listen to what the stager says. And third, do it. But if that's not something that you're able to do, the first thing that I really would encourage a seller to do is look at the other houses on the market. What house would you want to buy and why? And it's probably going to be because it looks very pretty in the photographs. And so, and then, you know, second, just decluttering, taking a lot, like honestly, it's better to just have nothing than it is to have too much, because it is just so distracting. You're not selling your stuff. Even though you're really proud of what you've done and you love your home and it's beautiful, you have to remember that that's not what's going to sell your house. It's the potential homeowner or the potential buyer coming in and being able to see themselves in your home. And so that's really the goal. The third thing that I would recommend is don't Google how to stage a house because there's some really, really bad advice out there. Those of us who are stagers, we've done this for a long time. We know what is successful in our area, and that's what we do. We really try to cater to the people in your area that we know would be a potential buyer. So, you know, just going in, decluttering, but don't take everything out, you know, leave a little bit, and then just trying to make it all flow together. Those would be my things, but really hire a stager and let them help you. That's the easiest answer.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So here's another before photo. And so what were your recommendations with this room?
I know that I recommended removing the buffet because it was just kind of floating there and it was making it feel very tight. Oh, there's a trash can. You got to take the trash can out. And I can't tell what the centerpiece is there, but I probably told them to take the shelves down too.
And, salt and pepper shakers and, you know, stuff that you use every day that you just don't think about.
Yep. Just a simple little, you know, vase with some fresh flowers in it is probably the easiest thing you can do for a dining table if you don't have decor to go on it.
So here's the after. So they moved that buffet. They kind of cleaned up those shelves. Just one piece of artwork. They had something else going on back there with some plants or something that they moved out. Again, just really kind of simplifying the space and just adding a very simple centerpiece.
It looks so much cleaner. I can see what the floors look like. I can see what the light fixture. I can even kind of get a glimpse of the outside, but it makes that whole space feel so much bigger. And it just looks classy. It just looks very pretty.
Yeah, and this is just, you know, an example of a very simple stage. We talked a little bit about why it works, you know, the depersonalization to be able to see the actual features of the house, the way it makes you feel once you're in the house. Is there any other reasons why you'd say that staging works the way it does?
You know, staging is emotional. It's just buying a house is emotional. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to create that emotional bond between a potential buyer and your home. And if I can successfully help you do that, then you have a much better chance of not only selling your home, but even possibly getting multiple offers. And so that's my goal, is to really create that emotional, bond between someone that would be interested in your home. And when that's all successful, then we normally do see, houses sell either quickly or with multiple offers. And if we really hit the jackpot, both.
Yes. So I know you have a lot of clients that ask you this all the time, but do you have any information on what staging does in terms of payoff, a percentage of how much higher stage homes sell for, or?
Yeah, and those statistics, they really change with each season. I don't know. I always kind of view the year. We have, in my opinion, we have different selling seasons within a year. The spring market is usually very, very fast, there's just a lot of homes that go on the market. A lot of potential buyers are in pursuit of those homes. This year has been a little different for sure, but yes, depending on what your price point of your home is, there's always statistics on how much more, what the percentage you could gain from the staging. It's recommended that depending on the price point of the home, that you put in anywhere from 5 to 10% of the selling price for staging. But I can tell you that we put in much lower than that, and we've been able to really see success from that. To me, that's a very high amount to put into staging, but.
Right.
Whenever a home is vacant, I know that it's very difficult for a potential buyer to go through and look at the space. They can't visualize. One room turns into another room, and they eventually click off the listing. Or we a lot of times will see much lower offers. And so when we do stage, you can tell when it's successful because we have a lot of showings. The number of showings definitely tell how successful you've been with staging and presenting the home. And then once you have your traffic in there, once you've captured those potential buyers into the home, if you're not getting offers, then you know that there's also an issue with possibly arrangement or the type of furniture and presentation that you have. And so yes, there's definitely statistics. They are constantly changing, and that is one thing that you can always Google and look up, because the real estate association, they normally are the ones that are putting those out and telling you. But it's several percent higher depending on the area you are, the type of stage, whether it's occupied or vacant. There's definitely percentages that you get in return. And sometimes that just comes in multiple offers, really strong offers, or just, being able to sell. So definitely, there's definitely statistics out there.
I think personally with my listings, because I stage every one of my listings, and usually Anne-Marie and I will get to work together on those. But I think on average, I would say they tend to sell for 3% more than they would without the staging. It's hard to quantify because, like you said, a lot of times it just results in really strong buyers who are really committed to the property because they've already got that emotional connection. So they tend to, really not want to let it go. Something else I wanted to note on this picture is, this furniture for you was not ideal. Like if you had your way, you probably would have had a smaller couch in there and, some different things, but you are able to work with people's furniture and the stuff that they already have.
Absolutely. I mean, I get it. Whenever you're moving, sometimes you're having to repair floors or or tile or, you know, other things that would be detrimental if you left. And that sometimes just zaps what you have available for staging budget. So, you know, I'm really gifted in the fact that I can go in there and use what you have and just really help you to edit. I'm thinking about the way that the cameras are going to capture it, and I'm thinking about the emotional feel that people are going to have when they come into your house. So I can, you know, there's a lot that I can do. I went into one home just 2 weeks ago, and from the color of the exterior to every piece of furniture in this house, it was not ideal. And I thought, oh my gosh, I hope that they can get someone to come in and look at this house. They had 57 showing requests, and the realtor had to cut off after 10 offers that were well over asking price.
Wow.
And so just going in, I make a list, I tell you what to do, how to edit, and it might not be what we would consider ideal, but it's going to show well when we're finished. Right. So,
and it can just be super simple. I mean, obviously, you know, this kitchen is, besides the appliances, was fairly original, but it's just, you know, a matter of clearing the countertops and having it very simple. With a little pop of color here, you know, you can use towels and things like that. So it can be done for pretty, using your own stuff for pretty inexpensively. So
absolutely. Yep. If you don't have, you know, a big budget for staging, just, you know, going in there and editing what you do have makes a very, very big difference.
Yeah. Okay, so I am gonna stop the screen share there and just see if anybody has specific questions or things that they're thinking about. Anybody?
How about wall color? Is it generally good just to use white paint to make the rooms look bigger?
Good question.
Yeah, I mean, so paint is a big game changer. As a designer, I would say that about 90% of the homes that I go into to help someone with color has some sort of a yellow undertone. So it's not as simple as just saying, oh, this is white, this is going to be good, because all paints have undertones to it. Really just taking it down to a neutral, you know, not having the reds or the brown or the yellow walls, and an accent wall. Where you might have loved it and it might have looked great with what you have, just taking everything down to a neutral. And there's definitely, you know, some very popular colors. And I typically am able to say, hey, why don't you try this color or that color? And so yes, in some ways white is great, but really just going with a neutral, and really trying to stay away from those yellow tones.
Yeah, beige is so popular in Colorado. We have yellow beige.
Yes, it is. Yeah. And if you're like me, I suffer from migraines. And so yellow tones give me migraines. So.
Yeah, they do that for a lot of people, I've heard.
Yes, they do. That's why so many people really, they want to, you know, get away from those tones. So.
Now, is gray still the most popular color? Is that still what you should be looking at doing?
You know, gray is good. Beige is actually kind of coming back, but more of the gray beiges. They kind of go out and go back in. Denver's a little bit behind on the design scene. So you kind of see things hang around a lot longer here in Denver than you do on the East and West Coast. So being from Atlanta, you know, I have a lot of designers I follow out there. They're usually up and coming. You know, they usually have the new color palettes. I like to kind of keep my eye out for the color palettes that are in style, and I like to pick a good neutral that goes with it. So, and you know, in some houses, grays look fantastic, and in other houses, to me, grays just don't work. So right. I just go in there and try to find something that's flattering, that someone likes, you know. So
Anne has a question.
So my question is this. So we've lived in our house for probably 40 years. It's a 60-year-old house. We've done a extensive remodeling. And so right now I'm remodeling the bathrooms. So I'm taking a very, very small bathroom off the master bedroom, and I'm turning it into there's going to be a glass corner shower. We're moving the sink off of one wall onto another wall to give more space in there, because probably in the next few years, my husband's going to be in a wheelchair. And so there's that. And then the main bathroom on the main floor has a tub in it. And Jenny knows this. I've asked her this question. So when I remodel that bath, should I take the tub out?
No. The answer is absolutely no. I have really bad arthritis myself, and I passed up about 3 really nice homes that did not have tubs because of that. And even the home that I have now, it does not have a tub. But it was priced so far under market value that to me it was worth, even though when they did their bathroom remodel, they removed the tub to add about 12 inches of shower, which to me, that you just took out your 5-piece bath. That brings in more money to bump out a shower, and I have a huge hole now. It's just a big space with nothing because a tub won't fit. So in order for me to actually make my bathroom work, I have to do a complete gut of my bathroom. And so, which I'm a designer and I'm okay with that. I got a hot tub and I put it in the back because a hot tub was cheaper at the time than a remodel. But for resale value, no, you should not remove the tub, especially if it's the only one.
So then along with that, to the next phase of that, should I get a walk-in tub? I mean, I realize that's kind of a senior citizen thing, but I don't know.
If that's the only space that you have and that's what you need to do, then that would be your option, unless there's some way to do a tub to where it would be safe and comfortable, with limited mobility. So I know that once you get into the whole ADA and everything, it does become challenging. And that is one thing that I did learn while I was in design school, is as I'm helping people to remodel, even in their 40s, I tell them, this might be the last remodel that you do before you really start feeling the aging process happening. So you might want to think about installing the brackets behind the tile that will allow for the handrails to go in. And there's a lot of things that you can, that people can do before they need it, to help them age, with grace. And so there's a lot of really great information out where you can, research, like, what can I do to help with limited mobility, but to keep my design pretty. And so I know that they have a lot of good solutions now, that they didn't even have 20 years ago. And so there's been some strides, but at the end of the day, you do have to do what is comfortable and what works the best while you're living there. So
then I guess then let's go back to my first thing, is that
it will hurt your value. It will hurt your resale value, but you're living there. And if that's what you need to do, then that's what you would need to do. So
if I what if I went from the shower to a walk-in tub with a shower enclosure above it? Because at this point, he would never take a bath. I mean, that's never going to happen. So, but, so let's say down the road, it's kind of a bath shower situation. Does that even, because I mean, I'm literally starting to remodel that bathroom in 2 weeks. So.
Yeah. I mean, I think that a bathtub combo for resale purposes is better than no tub. But at the same time, when you're talking about a mobility issue, then there's just some hard decisions that you have to make, that where you have to keep your loved one comfortable. And you might just know that in the future it could hurt resale, but you have to live in your house too.
Yeah.
So
Okay, guys, so we are just past our 30 minutes. Does anybody else have any other questions? And I can definitely put you in touch with Anne-Marie and the Anns together. So that if you have any other questions, you can ask her. Anything else that you were hoping we were going to go over that we didn't, or? Nope.
Well, I've kind of got a question. We're planning on carpeting, and should we stage the house where we're using just the same carpeting in all the same rooms, or should we have different carpeting in each room, but with white walls, so that the buyer could decide what other paint they want to do to either match the carpeting? And then the carpeting itself, do you go with pile carpeting or shag carpeting? Or, I mean, is shag too busy if it's got a lot of color in it and stuff?
So I have samples. I do carpet. I mean, I can help with that if you need some carpet boards.
Okay.
I recommend keeping the carpet the same all throughout the house. So you definitely do not want different carpets if you can help it. So if carpeting is in the budget, definitely you would want it all to match. And a lot of times too, when painting needs to take place, then we'll typically pick a color and just kind of stick with that color in all the areas that would need to be painted. Kind of boring, but boring sells. So,
Anne-Marie, isn't
I'm sorry.
Isn't hardwood flooring better than carpet, or no, not necessarily?
I mean, it depends on what rooms you're talking about. I mean, and it's really a choice. It's really a personal choice. But yes, in a living space, things like that, definitely a harder surface is preferred by most. Now, I replaced all of our ugly linoleum and carpet whenever I moved in, and my kids are like, please keep the carpet in the living space. So I did. And so, but we're Southern and we like cushy, soft carpet under our feet. And I'm not a fan of hardwood, even though I'm a designer. I like a really good, pretty tile. And so it's just it's a preference. But yes, in the living space, I don't love hardwood in kitchens, but if you have it in there, that's great. There's just so many, things that could leak onto the hardwood. But there's so many good choices out there outside of hardwood too. There's, engineered hardwood. There's some really nice luxury vinyl that we're even putting in $1 million homes. And so there's some really great smart choices out there that we didn't have in the past. But in bedrooms, hallways, basements, things like that, then carpet's totally fine.
Okay. So
not in bathrooms.
Yeah, no carpet in the bathroom.
Don't carpet your tub.
Yeah.
If they wanted to get in touch with you, Anne-Marie, for anything else, or just follow you on social media, etc., what would be the best way to do that?
So I'm on Facebook. My Facebook page is Cayde Interior Design, Cayde. And if they're connected to you through social media, they can probably find me. Anne-Marie McDonnell, McDonnell is my name. And Facebook is a good way to follow me. I don't really post as much as I should. I'm hoping to change that. I've just been really busy. So I try to be really good at posting. I haven't even posted on my personal, during this quarantine, we were remodeling our own home. So I can't get away from it. There was no resting in the McDonnell house.
Oh, no. Okay. Well, cool. All right, everybody. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And
Thank you.
Yeah, definitely reach out if you have any other questions, and we'll be happy to get back in touch with you. Have a
Okay.
good weekend.
You
All right.
Thank
too.
you.
Bye.
Thank you.